This is the Jonathon Brandmeier Show.
844-4JB Show. Calling in the faraway towns. London calling. Battle come down. Yeah. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. All right. Blame it on the Brexit. Prime Minister David Cameron out. 3 months' notice. I'm leaving office. I can't stand it. I'm going in October. Global markets dropped like it was bloody hot. The pound hit its lowest level since '85, and $2 trillion disappeared from world markets. More than 3 million people have signed a petition to have another Brexit vote. The vote is making the international community question power structures that have been in place for decades. Happy Monday! Yeah. You know, we have to go to a radio brother. International broadcaster, podcaster, blogger, Graham Mack, host of Bob's Breakfast with Graham Mack. By the way, Buzz, he's also a program director for Bob FM.
Very ambitious.
Bob FM, I love the name of it there, Graham. Listen live, bobfm.co.uk, website, macmedia.co.uk. You wrote in one of your many, media outlets, Graham, you wrote that if you punch a random stranger today, this was over the weekend, there is a 51.9% chance they deserve it. No, wait a minute. Did you? Wait a minute. Did you? Okay, if you punch a random stranger today, there's a 51.9% chance they deserve it. Summed up how a lot of people felt in Britain after the EU, the aftermath of the referendum. Worst day one in British currency on record. You write, Britain is broken, is battered, bewildered. There's not a United Kingdom. And on your breakfast show at Bob FM, there in the UK and Australia, you asked people to call in and tell you how they were feeling. How were they feeling? Has it just sunk in, Graham?
Well, for a lot of people, they didn't really know what they were voting for.
Right.
They started telling me that they voted to leave the EU because they didn't like Brussels telling us what shape our vegetables should be. So, okay, let's crash the economy instead, see how we like that.
Wait a minute. Go back to the vegetable line. Was there an actual caller that said they don't... What is the vegetable reference to, Graham?
Well, what it is, the EU likes to standardize things. Probably the Germans started this. They like to have everything standard, and there are standard sizes and shapes for fruit and vegetables that they have to be before they can go on sale, and some of our farmers are not happy about that because, you know, sometimes vegetables and fruit, they grow in the shape they feel like growing in. And so Brussels, that was one of the things they were regulating. And so a lady called me and she said that was the reason why she voted to leave the EU. She was sick of the people in Brussels, where they run the EU, telling us what shape our fruit and vegetables need to be.
Wow, that is the weirdest thing I ever heard. Now, but the rest of the people that were calling in, like when you took these calls, was it all unanimously, hey, this is a bad idea, or this is fantastic, we've got our country back?
On Friday, most of the people that called were delighted that we were going out of the EU. And when I asked them why, they weren't really sure.
That is the greatest. That's it. I think that's what it is. There was an actual, there was a cover of the New York Post, I think it was the Post, had a fist with the American flag drawn on that fist. And the fist next to it was the English flag, the UK flag, the British flag, right next to it. And it said, United we stand. In other words, together we are broken, battered, and bewildered.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to be a United Kingdom. They're going to have to change the name now to the former United Kingdom. Instead of the UK, we're now the FUK.
Oh, good morning, Bob FM, Graham Mack. Delightful. I love that. What is it? I want to hear it again. What is it? What is it?
Well, we used to be the UK, United Kingdom. We are definitely not united right now, so we're the former United Kingdom. We are the FUK.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So the majority, though, I'd love to hear the calls. I would just love to hear the calls. Now, are you on the air now, or when do you go on the air?
I was on the air this morning. Right now, it's coming up to nearly 3:15 in the afternoon. So I was on the air this morning, and I was taking more calls this morning. There was a little bit of buyer's remorse this morning. There's a few people have realised over the weekend what they've done. You just went through the list of the things. The Prime Minister resigning was probably one of the bigger deals, but then since then, the opposition party, the Labour Party, over 20 members of the shadow cabinet have resigned in the last 24 hours. So they don't really have a leader with, much of a mandate from his party at the moment. So we're going to probably get a new Labour leader as well. But the Conservatives say they'll have a new Prime Minister in place by the end of September. Hey, the whole country's just gone to hell in a handcart. We need a new leader by the end of today.
No, that's right. It seems like your leaders have abandoned you. It's like, this is a bad idea. Let's get out of Dodge.
Exactly. That's what's going on.
So that's the weirdest thing. There's got to be no confidence in the British people. There is something that's very interesting here, and I want you to elaborate on this because I'm not quite sure I've ever heard of this. There is a law in the UK where TV and radio cannot persuade or challenge people if they're an opposite view. They couldn't have pushed, hey, don't go with Brexit, don't go with that, stay, don't stay. Is that a fact?
In the run-up to the election, I was not allowed to take a side, even though I knew voting to leave the EU was the silliest thing we've done in 1,000 years. But I wasn't allowed to say. On the day of the actual poll, between 9 a.m. when the polls opened and 10 at night, I wasn't even allowed to say, hey, nice weather for voting today, because that would encourage people to vote, and one side or the other, a high turnout might favour them. I don't know which side. But I could have got 6 months in jail for saying that on Thursday.
I'm shocked. Graham, I got to tell you something. I've never realized that was the situation there. I thought we had it bad. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's not the broadcasting rate. It's not Ofcom, which is our version of the FCC. It is the actual law of the land that you can't.
All right.
Can't encourage people to vote.
That's amazing. All right. So if you went on and tried to persuade anyone in any little small way, even as you say, nice weather for the referendum.
Yes.
You could go to jail. Or what about a fine, a penalty, a money fine?
£5,000, which was a lot of money last week.
Last week it would have killed you. Oh, my good Lord. This is amazing. We had a lady on financial advisor expert, Terry Savage. She said we'll be able to see what happened there, what might happen if they elect Trump here, if in fact he, follows the path he's following now. So we're watching what's happening there. And what is it is not good right now.
It is not good, and no one knows which way it's going to turn. And yesterday they were interviewing the politicians from both sides, and they were saying, so, what was the plan if we voted to leave the EU? Plan? No, we don't have a plan.
Plan? Oh, wait a minute. Did you say plan? And it was like they acted like they had a plan. I saw some of the interviews like, what? Oh, plan? Well, we thought there was no way you were going to leave the EU. So there's no way who's the guy that looks like Justin Bieber, the new guy, Boris?
Boris Johnson, yeah.
With the crazy hair. He's got like the Trump hair going. Looks nuts.
Yeah, he was the guy that kind of pushed this along. He used to be the mayor of London. He's a Conservative, so he's the same party as David Cameron. He was the mayor of London, and he clearly wants to be the Prime Minister, so he decided he would go for the Leave side, take a punt. And then it came in, and now he's gone very quiet and confused.
Take a punt.
Sorry.
Well, he's gone quiet. He's taken a punt. Oh, my goodness. I still can't get over the fact. Buzz, can you imagine if you said, I got to tell you something right now. I don't like Hillary Clinton, and now you got to vote for Trump. If you said something like that, you would be penalized and put in jail for 6 months.
I wouldn't live there. Yeah. I wouldn't live there. But there were a number of people that they polled that British people who didn't even know what the EU was.
Yes.
Well,
and still they wanted to leave.
As Graham Mack just said, one thought it was about getting the size of the vegetables dictated.
Yeah, there was one lady who called, and I said, why did you vote to leave? And she said, well, I just want Britain to have more of a say in what goes on. And I said, well, we do have European elections here every 5 years. And she said, oh. I said, did you vote in that? And she says, no, I wasn't old enough. And I said, well, how old were you? She said, 33.
Well,
She thought I was talking about the previous referendum we had on Europe, which we had in 1975. And after that one, we decided to stay. That should have been the end of it, really.
Yeah. The New York Post, by the way, to be clear on what the cover was, it's got the two fists, the American flag, UK. Around the world, voices cry out, power to the people. And I think a lot of it had to do with, immigration. And as you say, you're based on your calls there at your show, Breakfast Show of the Year, by the way. Buzz, Breakfast Show of the Year, that is Graham Mack. Breakfast Show of the Year, the BBC. Bob's Breakfast with Graham Mack. That people calling in really weren't 100% on what was happening. And I guess people never really are until it happens. I think that's the way it is. I mean, I think the whole thing, even with Trump, this kind of sneaks up on you. And it's like, what? What's happening?
Yeah, I think George Carlin many years ago said it best when he said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups.
Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. Indeed. Man. But you got to admit, Graham, it's got to be fun to be on the air now, right, in the UK?
It is, but the big problem is the area in the north of London, which is Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire and Buckinghamshire, where our core audience is, they're one of the areas that voted to go, to leave the EU, and I disagree. So it's a kind of it's a delicate dance I have to do when I get them on the phone and I go, oh, really? I can't just come out with it and say, what's the matter with you people?
Isn't
or I'll
that
lose
weird?
all my audience.
That's just so weird. Usually the way you do it anyways, you just set it up and let people decide for themselves. I don't really like a host shoving something down someone's throat. It doesn't really matter. You throw the facts out and they can figure it out for themselves. People aren't stupid. I'll tell you what to do. We don't have that right to tell people what to do, but we can throw it out one way or the other. But the fact is that if you wanted to, Graham Mack, you couldn't really push your opinion one way or the other. There might be something to that.
Yeah. Right now, I can't do that. No, not too far.
What if you just subliminally did?
I couldn't even get close.
What if you subliminally did? I'm Graham Mack. Good day here at the BBC. Don't stay. Okay. Or what if you did it subliminally?
Yeah, maybe I could go like, ew, bit of a mess, ew.
Listen, Graham, if you got anything to report, you give us a call. And it is a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure meeting you when you were in Chicago. Bob's Breakfast with Graham Mack. Listen live to bobfm.co.uk, macmedia.co.uk. Hey, you did an interview with me, right? Is that still up there somewhere?
That was wonderful in Chicago, Johnny. Yeah, what a pleasure. And you were so nice. You were so cool. And it was such a thrill to meet you after listening to you online for so many years. And Johnny, thank you for that. It was great.
Is that still up there somewhere? I've never heard it. I've never really heard it.
Oh, it's on my website on macmedia.co.uk. Macmedia.co.uk. It's Graham Mack and Jonathon Brandmeier.
All right, very good, very good. All right, so Graham, anytime you know how to get hold of us, if you got something to report, give us a call. You're our UK reporter, brother.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you. Graham Mack, Breakfast Show, Bob's Breakfast with Graham Mack. That's the weird. I don't know why I just can't stop thinking about the fact that even if you hint at an opinion, you get a penalty.
It's so un-American.
It's so un-American. 5,000 pounds, which was a lot of money
last week.
As George Carlin once said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. Who knows if they're stupid? Only time will tell. Graham Mack said, we're not the UK, we're now the F-U-K.
She ain't no human being. There is no future in England's dreaming.
Jonathon Brandmeier.